let me introduce you. So, sorry. Annie is a senior engineer with DNV GL. She specializes in technical assessments of high performance and zero net energy Z&E buildings and communities. By analyzing these projects through energy modeling, daylight modeling, cost benefit analysis, and solar feasibility study, Annie holistically advises on passive sustainability, energy efficient systems, resiliency, PV sizing, electrification, and LEED. As a technical expert in the field, she has written several white papers and a Z&E guidebook. Of note, she has aided in the design, implementation, and now management of the award-winning Consumers Energy Zero Net Energy Pilot Program. So with that, I will turn it over to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Let me make sure I'm showing my screen. Is it showing the right one, or did it hop to the wrong one again, Brett?
You just need to turn on the PowerPoint. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's on a little delay.
All right, let me know if you're seeing it.
Yeah, it looks like it just has like a 2-second delay here. So.
Okay. No.
There you go. Well, nope, it's still not sharing. Sorry.
Is it sharing the wrong screen, or is it just not sharing?
It's just sharing the, like right before you go into it. I'm thinking that probably you can move forward and it will just catch up here in a second. So.
Okay. Well, let me know when you do see it so I'm aware of where we are with timing, but otherwise I can just speak to the program.
Yep.
Let me just do one last effort here. Okay. Right. So, hi, I'm Annie Koch. I am the pilot program manager for the Zero Net Energy pilot program through Consumers. We've been around for 3 years, but primarily focusing on commercial buildings prior to more recently, where we are open to enrolling more multifamily buildings, which is why I am here and excited to talk to you all about multifamily options with our Zero Net Energy program. So I'm assuming you're still not seeing my screen.
Now it's finally showing the first slide, so we're getting close.
Okay, how unfortunate. So I'm on to the second slide. Hopefully you'll get there.
There it is now. Yep.
Okay. So like I said, we were strictly commercial. Now we're opening up to multifamily. The program requirements are the all electric design in this final design. And we are more along the lines of a Z&E ready program. We do not have the requirement of solar on the building or even RECs. As an energy efficiency program, we are incentivizing the energy reduction side of things. So we have energy reduction goals, as you can see on the slide. If it's a major renovation, that's 30% reduction, or if it's new construction, then it's 40% reduction, and that's based on a comparison to code minimum values. Currently, as a pilot, our incentive is $1.50 per square foot, and that is not technology specific in what we're incentivizing. We're incentivizing the process of going through and becoming a Z&E building. So we have steps along the way, which I'll get into in a second here. So what our program has been designed for is to really test out and incentivize and invigorate the market on the feasibility and cost effectiveness of Z&E in Michigan. And we're doing that through having proof of concept, which is done by case studies. Like Bradford Station is a fantastic example. Although they were not in our program, they're a great example of how Z&E can be feasible in this climate. And we've also been doing, currently we're working on a multifamily zero net energy new construction design guideline, which is a guideline that walks you through every step of the way how to reach a zero net energy goal for your multifamily buildings. And we're helping projects and customers go through a process in order to reach these goals. So that involves having early design involvement. We go through some cost benefit analysis. And having that early involvement really helps to minimize rework and have successful implementation. And in doing all of these, we're really working on helping to transform the market. And we're doing it through things like today, talking at conferences, trying to spread the word about Z&E and how we are here to help the process, education sessions. And one of the things we found early on in our program is that there are a lot of things that requires additional education and maybe a little bit of hand-holding to learn how to go through this process. So we created our Zero Net Energy Deliverable Guidebook, which is like, I think 75 pages of information on how to achieve each of the deliverables that are required for our program, which you can apply to other projects as well. You don't have to be in our program to do them. And on this next slide, this is, if you're seeing it, is our flow chart, which shows all the different deliverables for the program. Now, these are items that the project teams are responsible for, and it's what the incentive is meant to be offsetting that added work. Consumers Energy is there along the way to help to encourage the design and help with any technical assistance and guidance for each of these deliverables to be met. So for our program, the main point is reaching EUI goal. So EUI, for those that don't know, is energy use intensity, and that is your annual energy consumption divided by the square footage of your building. And in your preliminary design phase, which is right here if you can see my cursor, that's where you're going to be doing your goal setting. So you're getting together your team, you're gathering your data, and that's where that's going to be starting. And I'm going to hop through a few slides that kind of go through each of these phases briefly, big overview. But yeah, so first, before you get into phase one, which I was eager to jump into, there's phase 0, which is the project initiation. And in going through these processes with other program or projects so far in our program, we have 11 participants right now. We found the importance of really highlighting this project initiation step, because oftentimes people are eager to just run into the project and get some design work done and move on as quickly as possible. But taking a step to just gather your team super early on and collect the data, go through a questionnaire, really make sure that you understand what the Z&E feasibility is for the building, make sure all the stakeholders are there in order to have their input. I mean, basic things like having your commissioning agent involved early on, not waiting till after construction to have them part of the team. Those are the things that we try to talk about from the beginning. So that's the phase 0. And then phase 1 is where you're getting everyone together for a charrette, you're going through some preliminary analysis and really setting your EUI goal so that everyone's on the same page with what that is. And you get sort of an idea of what kind of energy conservation measures are necessary in order to get there. Phase 2 is in the advanced design. That's where you're designing to that goal. So you have your energy models, your cost benefit analysis. And then when you hop into construction, having your kickoff meeting, making sure your commissioning agent is lining up their timeline with the construction timeline. And this is where you're really making sure that your EUI goal is being implemented the way that it was designed for. You're putting all this design work and investment into all the equipment that's going to be put into the building. This is the point where you have to make sure that you're getting your benefit that you've invested in and making sure that it's set up properly. Phase 4 is where you're going to get into measuring per end use or per tenant, depending on the layout of your building. You go through some troubleshooting to make sure that you have everything up and running properly. And then in phase 5, that's verification. So that's where you're going through your 12 months post-occupancy of measurement and verification. Now, this has been a little bit tricky with COVID because operations have changed, and so it's hard to have your baseline, which was pre-COVID, and your proposed, which is now after. So we've been working with our participants to make sure that we are taking all of those changes into consideration and making sure you're really getting an accurate depiction of what your energy savings is for the building. So I alluded to 11 participants. This is just a quick overview of the varying participants. And the the benefit to the layout of our program is there are, it's an integrated design process. It is a zero net energy process. We're not technology specific. It's a guideline for how to go through and successfully create a zero net energy project. So it can be applied to so many different use types and sizes. And so as you can see here, we have a wide variety. And with the existing buildings, there's some that are really starting out with some high EUIs, but when you're looking at that percent reduction, that's where you're really getting into the nitty gritty of what can you achieve for each building based on what their limitations are. So I've had a lot of fun with all the different kinds of buildings that we've had. And in closing, so we've really tried to listen to the market as we've been going through, listen to our customers. We did surveys trying to update the program requirements and the flow and the incentive amount, really trying to make sure that we have the best program at the end of the day. And we're still a pilot, we're still learning. And as we go into this multifamily genre now, we are learning even more. And so it's been exciting to see the enthusiasm around zero net energy and where we are able to help in that process. Our deliverable guidebook has been really very beneficial in trying to have less hand-holding in the process and more empowering of the contractors that are working on the items that we require for our program. And as I mentioned before, we have the Zero Net Energy Multifamily New Construction Design Guideline that's going on right now. So we're in the process of developing. We should have that launched closer to the end of the year, maybe beginning of next year. And if anybody has some Zero Net Energy case studies that would like to have showcased in that guidebook guideline, please let me know. We are looking for projects to highlight. And we're open for enrollment, so also contact me for that. And here is my contact information. So now I am done, and if you have any questions, please let me know. I don't know, Brett, if you saw some questions to field or if you have some for me.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Annie, so much. Yeah, so we've got a little bit of time. Well, we've got time for questions, and then we're going to be diving into the formal networking session, kind of just to open it up for everyone and have a larger conversation. So we'd love for you all to stick around and just talk. And if some of our presenters are still here, and just dive into it. I don't see any specific questions yet, but one thing I'm kind of intrigued about, and especially from what I've seen working with you on one particular project, is it really seems like it really seems like on the multifamily side for existing apartment housing stock, your program kind of runs like a biggest loser project, right? So it's really the worst performing buildings out there. It seems, at least the way we're looking at it now, it's kind of measuring it up and then putting just a basic plan in place, that's not too complex. And we're seeing really good reduction targets from that hopefully, can go through the project. So I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit or add to that, or tell me I'm off base there.
No, it's great, because I think common misconception is that to be zero net energy, you have to put so much money into the project, and it has to be super complex, and you're going to have operational issues because it's above and beyond what your normal building operators are used to handling. But that's not the case, and especially if you're involved really early on in the process, and you could take advantage of some of the passive design measures and reduce your energy that way. You can there's just a lot that's out there that you don't have to be too over the top with. You just have to be mindful from the start, if that's what you were referring to.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I love this question that came in because I have the perfect answer for it. Is the question is, what is the minimum number of units required? And just anecdotally speaking, the first project that we're working on, I believe, is literally just 4 little units outside of a larger development that only part of it's going to comply with the program. But And it's a low-income housing tax credit program, so it lines up really well with what you're doing. I really like that because it's not asking people to necessarily, I mean, we want to ask people to do things different and get outside of their box, but in some cases, the housing tax credit programs already require you to do some of these green design planning reviews and inspection and testing. So we find it to line up really well, and so it's exciting to see like this super hyper small project, 4 units. I think it's 2 sets of 2 units, or maybe it's 4 sets of 2 units, so 8 units.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was getting too small. So, but yeah, it's not super big, and it looks like it's still going to be able to get involved and again follow some of the compliance pathways of those green certification programs that are required to pass. But I guess to get to that person's question, how low can you go? I mean, how small of a project can you all get involved in for multifamily?
Yeah, so I want to say it's 4 units is the lowest that we can go. I'll have to double check. I'm sorry, it's a new requirement, but I think it was 4 or 5. I'll double check and I'll get that on there right away.
Yeah, and I know for sure, just from a construction code standpoint, once you hit 5 units, you're commercial. Once you hit 4 units, you're residential. So I do know that's the Michigan code anyway. So and
yeah,
you probably follow that. So.
That is the cutoff for classifying as multifamily for the program. Thank you.
Yep. So the other question I came in here.
Chime in one more thing. So with what you're referring to with the aligning with other certifications, that has been an intent of ours from the start. There's a lot of overlap with lead requirements for various deliverables that we have, and at no point do we want you to do anything above and beyond what you already are doing for those types of certifications and any other modeling efforts that you're doing for other types of certifications. We're trying to align as much as we can for each of those. So trying to streamline the process as much as possible.
Can you just elaborate, how does the measurement process work? Is it 12 months of full occupancy?
Yes, it is. So it's post-occupancy is when you can start during phase 4, whereas the measurement phase, that's where you're working out your kinks, making sure all your measurement equipment is up and running properly. And so that can take a couple of months as you're working out some of just operational issues. And then once all of that's worked out, then you start your 12 months. So you make sure you have good data for it. You don't want to have any of your weird anomalies popping up when you're trying to show 12 months of really good data. So yeah, and as I was saying before, like with occupancy these days, it's a little tricky. With multifamily, it's better. With our commercial buildings, it's been interesting. But trying to adjust to all the COVID changes and extrapolate as needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was trying to think of the other question that I had here. Well, so I mean, going back to occupancy, what happens, after a year and you don't hit your target? Can you keep trying? Do you have a 2-year attempt period, or how does that work?
Well, we try to set things up in a way so that you are going to get to your target. So we have all these checkpoints along the way. So you're not just all of a sudden it's been 12 months and you look at it and you're like, eesh, what happened? And so we try to prevent that from happening. We haven't gotten that far with any of our projects yet because it is so long term. So any wiggle room that we have, like if adjustments still need to be made, we can still talk about that. But one thing that we do have baked in is a % deviation allowance. So if there is any issues, you don't have to hit like exactly on the nose of like what your EUI was meant to be. Like we take into account changes too.
Well, I like how you said that, you have these processes and things in place to make sure you hit the target. And we always kind of say our motto is kind of like, why guess when you can know? So we don't have to guess that you're going to do it because we have the model And I know you guys look at those models really in depth, you know, just to make sure they're on target. And then of course there's the sort of the commissioning, the verification in the field that it's on track. And then there's probably plans for the occupants. But here's the thing, right? COVID-19 came in, and now all of a sudden you have, I'd suspect you have commercial buildings who are easily hitting their targets because they're not operating. And if you had a multifamily program, you might find, and especially now, more and more people are working from home. My energy bills are going through the roof because we're all working from home, we're all home. So how do you account for that now? And is there going to be any thought into making it a little more difficult to be more fair to commercial who aren't operating as much, and vice versa for multifamily? And maybe the answer is maybe. You don't know yet, but.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. And you know, when we do our M&V process, it's meant to be, you know, with a calibrated energy model. So following IPMVP option D, I believe it is. And so in that, you're calibrating to what your actual usage is. So you're seeing that if people are occupying more, I mean, you're getting more energy consumption on a lot of fronts, like with your added filtration systems or more outside air coming in for, you know, just COVID related issues. So that all has to go into account and making sure. And so that's why we really, like, we have our EY goals, but we really also like to look at that percent reduction. And that's based off of the usage. And one other thing I forgot to mention is we do have a bonus we pay out for any certifications that the projects are going for. So any zero net energy certification. So that's an option as well.
How about zero carbon certifications?
Possibly. We only pay for one, so it just depends on what you're going for. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then I guess, let's say people go through your program and they get close, but they don't make it. Are they then disqualified for all of Consumers' other wonderful, I mean, you have lots of great rebates. So.
Well, and yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Brett, because that's something that, you know, because we're so early in involvement, oftentimes projects don't know if they want to do Z&E yet. Like it is an effort. You know, you can't half-heartedly do Z&E. You have to really want to do it. But sometimes in early schematic, you don't know if that's going to be feasible for your project based on, you know, needing to have upfront capital for things. So we're really designing our program to align as much as we can with existing offerings elsewhere throughout Consumers. And so we can be there from the start. We can do those charrettes. We can look at the design. And if you find out it's not for you, that's fine. We can off ramp and we can have all the other incentive offerings that you'd still be eligible for, and just kind of transition over and help in that process, because I know it can be overwhelming when you have too many points of contact through Consumers, because Consumers is very big and there are a lot of offerings. So we can be that platform to help to open the doors to other offerings as well.
Great, Annie. Well, I don't see any other specific audience questions, and I want to bring in some other folks to keep some other conversations going for our networking. But you know, if you want to hang out, stick around. If there's any questions that you can jump into, feel free. Otherwise, thank you again so much for your time, for joining us, and thanks to Consumers Energy for their support. Where can people get more information if they want to contact you?
Sorry, what was more
where can people, where can they go, or where can they find more information about the program?
Well, you can email me at annie.koch@dnvgl, and I can put that in the screen. But then you can also just go to the Consumers website, and under the pilot programs, there's more information there.
Great. Thank you so much, Annie.
Thank you.
Yep.